In this conversation, we sit down with Matt and Andrea Harris from Luke 9:23 Ministries and talk about how churches can get more admin done with less time. Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab. We are so glad to be with you, and we're really glad to have another conversation to help empower healthy churches. We love getting to do that here on the podcast. We love having you alongside with us, and we all love learning together. Now, we're going to get to our episode here shortly. Before we do, I would love to ask a favor of you. If you could leave a review of the podcast, subscribe, leave a comment, all of that stuff helps us in getting these conversations into more church leaders' ears, and in turn, hopefully help empower more healthy churches. So that would mean so much to us if you could do that. We would appreciate it, and we will all continue on this journey, learning and growing together. Now, today's conversation is with Matt and Andrea Harris from Luke 9:23 Ministries. To give you a little bit of a background, specifically on Matt, he's the shepherd of Luke 9:23 Ministries with over 30 years of full-time ministry experience. That includes time as a youth pastor for 17 years, church planter and lead pastor for 7 years, 4 years as a discipleship pastor, and then several years as an adjunct professor at Taylor University, Crossroads Bible College in Fort Wayne. Now, besides co-founding Luke 9:23 Ministries with his wife, Andrea, they're both in the early stages of developing a movement of neighborhood and house churches called Neighbor's House Community Church. Now, in his free time, Matt enjoys doing life with his wife, kids, and grandkids. They enjoy playing guitar, camping, kayaking, biking, and, which is near and dear to my heart, has a crazy obsession with the Chicago Cubs. Now, we're so grateful for this conversation. We're actually able to sit down in person with Matt and Andrea at a conference recently, dive into this topic, and really have, hopefully, will be a helpful conversation to you on how you can do more admin with less time. So without further ado, enjoy this conversation with Matt and Andrea Harris.
Awesome. Well, Matt, Andrea, thanks so much for being here on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
We're gonna dive in. There's one question we ask every guest. And there's the public bio, right? The back of the book or the whatever you would put out there on the website. There's always something that doesn't make the public bio that all your friends and family would know about you. So what is that? I'll let you decide who wants to answer. What is that for you?
But anyone that's been in my office knows I'm crazy about books.
Okay.
And especially my wife. I've got 2 layers of books on my bookshelf.
2 layers? How does that work?
It's hard to find books.
It doesn't work very well. But to be honest, he knows where every book is. If I move a book, which I have, he'll know exactly when I've moved it.
Okay. So you got it dialed in. We need to get you like a library, your own library system.
That would help. That might help.
Oh man. Well, there's a fun question coming up later. We do something called our Final Five, where it's kind of rapid fire, but I'll give you a little heads up. One of them's what's one book you'd recommend to church readers? So
okay,
I'm expecting a solid answer. Although picking one might be difficult.
I want to throw a few in there.
Yeah, I'll allow it. That's fine. That's fine. Well, hey, just as we jump in, can you just give us a little bit of a history around Luke 9:23 Ministries, what you all are doing, just kind of how it started, but also the vision for it?
Awesome. Yeah, well, we'll both answer that one, but I'll jump in first. I was a career youth pastor many years ago, lots of years doing youth ministry, and the longer I did it, the more I seen kids graduate from their faith when they graduated from high school, and my heart broke after investing in so many years in a kid's life to see them walk away. So I knew I had to plant a church, but I had no clue how to do this administrative stuff. In fact, I was so scared of the IRS.
Yeah.
I tried to fill out my 501c3 application. I know it was written in lawyerese. I don't know how to. I tried, and I kept getting these letters back. You filled it out wrong. And those are written in lawyerese too.
Yeah.
It was like a big burden. When I got the mail and I saw IRS, I'd like, oh no, IRS again. They're going to close the doors of this church. I just wanted to tell people about Jesus. My heart broke.
Yeah.
So my wife and I kind of put our heads together in this. She had some faith-based formation in the background that she had done. So we just got on our couch one day and we got our laptops out and we sent everybody an email that had church planter next to their name that we could find anywhere on the internet.
Okay, I love it.
And we just wanted to help people.
I love
we
it.
just wanted to help people. We wanted to help ministries that were searching, trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
Like me.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to worry about this. We can take this off your plate so you can tell people about Jesus, and we can help you do the 501c3 and the formation paperwork. So
I love it.
Yeah. With my nonprofit background, it really, I did feel a calling even before Matt. It was a leap of faith for us to start the ministry. But
So,
throughout the 16 years that we've been serving churches, we've served over 6,000.
wow.
So God has really blessed us through that. But our ministry really, we really want to be able to walk alongside church planters so that they don't feel alone in it,
Yeah.
because many do.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that and we pray for them as well. But in the areas that we're gifted in our team, God has brought beautiful people to our team
Nice.
who have a skill set and a heart to serve.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. You know, you brought it up, but as you plant a church, start a church, I mean, even as people step into existing church, there's all sorts of things like the IRS, like 501c3 law, like functioning as a nonprofit, and what can you do, can't you do? I mean, all of that.
Right.
So what are, even in people who are preparing to enter that, what are some of those things that you have to be aware of, or that could almost be risks of, I'm going to just jump into it myself, or I'll worry about that later, or just sort of,
Right.
minimizing those things that are pretty important.
Right.
So, we love volunteers at church, but there are some things that really require knowledge, and especially with churches, they're very unique, even more so than just a regular nonprofit. And so oftentimes what we see are churches that utilize volunteers, or even go to a CPA or an attorney that's not versed with nonprofits.
Yeah.
Or versed with churches and the dual tax status of pastors. And so some of the areas that we see most often would be misclassification of employees, or not having the understanding of the dual tax status with pastors, and withholding Social Security and Medicare from their checks when they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And so those kind of things. And it does pose risk, even with like fringe benefits, not understanding in the ever-changing tax laws.
Yeah.
Just keeping up on those. For a volunteer, we just feel like that's a little too much to ask from our volunteers, which we love our volunteers and we
Yeah.
need them.
Thank you.
But in those areas where you really need somebody who understands what a church needs and understands the dual tax status of a pastor, you really should have somebody who has that background.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I served in ministry myself, and I remember in the early years I would try and kind of do my taxes on my own.
Mhm.
For us, it was obviously there's not many in ministry who maybe are making enough to pay a CPA, or that's where we were early on. And so I'm like, I'll just dive into it myself, and then realize quickly, you can really get in over your head.
Mhm.
But then I know there's also a lot of stuff organizationally, right? As you start,
Yes.
like you said, when you're planting a church and you start and you want to eventually be a 501c3 and tax exempt, some things you have to do.
Absolutely.
If you don't, it can lead to
Yeah.
some sticky situations.
Even on the state level, if a church doesn't file their entity reports, they can be dissolved. And some states even freeze bank accounts after
Wow.
they dissolve a church.
Wow.
And so those things are important to know.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in ministry, then you know church operations can be a huge challenge. There's a lot to do, little time to do it, and whether it's just you or you have a team, my guess is you have a full plate. So how do you do things like communication and engagement, stewarding your finances, managing your digital presence, fostering community, and so much more in a way that builds a healthy church? Well, answering that question was the goal of creating the Guide to Healthy Church Operations. We wanted to take our 40 plus years of experience serving the church, combined with wisdom from various experts to provide a blueprint for how you can navigate the ever-changing world of church operations. In this guide, you'll find things like how to improve member engagement and participation, building into staff and volunteers, making better decisions with clear metrics, the essentials of financial stewardship for churches, and so much more. And of course, we wanted to give this to you for free. So there's a link in the show notes to download the Guide to Healthy Church Operations. And we would love for you to grab a copy and use it to help grow a healthy church.
You know, one of the things, maybe we're recording this, it's not a surprise that people are recording this at a conference. And so I know you all have a booth, but one of the things I love in big, bold letters is, I'm not going to get this exactly right, but is that you essentially are giving pastors time back for ministry, taking the because that stuff takes so much time, especially if you're not versed in it, to learn it and then try and do it all. It's so much time. So you're taking time off, or you're taking admin off their plate, giving them time for ministry. I'm curious from what you've seen, what are some creative ways that you've seen church leaders use technology to handle some of that admin? And I know you all help in that aspect, but I know some of our church leaders listening to this are always looking to grow in, how can I use these tools to be tools that give me more time for ministry and what matters most? So yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts, as you all have worked with so many churches.
Yeah.
I would say on the communication level, text in church, MailChimp.
Yeah.
Those are some of those that come to mind. And like a project management to help the staff connect and make sure things are getting accomplished. Asana is another project management tool that we see that many churches use.
Yeah.
And Slack would be another one for communication that I see often with teams.
Yeah. That's one of those, it gets old text messaging people all the time.
Right.
Yeah. Matt, what have you seen as you've, tried to help different pastors who may not embrace technology naturally or have to learn some of those tools? I'm curious your thoughts on ways that church leaders might be able to think about their tasks and what they can automate or use technology for.
Yeah, well, the things my wife mentioned are great. And if you're not taking advantage of some of those things, it can get really discouraging.
Yeah.
It's really discouraging. You're like, I don't have time for all this. I just want to tell people about Jesus. I don't want to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, all those things.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
I would say Google Suite as well for just being able to manage and accessing your team's information. So I think that would be another tool that I see that's used often.
I love that. I love one of the things we the whole goal of this podcast is conversations that empower healthy churches. And I think practical advice like that, tools that you can use, that can be so helpful. So now another side of the coin that I know some might be feeling is, partnering with kind of external agencies. You could use the word ministries, but really saying, hey, isn't this something, like you said, just you find a volunteer to do, or, I can just do it myself.
Yeah.
So what advice do you give for anyone who's hesitant to sort of say, I'm going to take some of the admin of our church and give it to somebody else and let them run with it? How would you kind of encourage them in doing that?
Let's start by saying, don't be hesitant, but research. I ask networks. I mean, one of the things that's helped us is just word of mouth. We hardly do any advertising. In fact, we show up at a conference once a year.
Yeah.
But it's word of mouth. It's guys that have worked with a ministry or with an app or whatever that's been successful for them, and run with it and check it out.
Yeah, trust in those people that you have around you, that for those pastors that do network, and many do, to see what they're using, because they can't do it all on their own.
Yeah.
It becomes very heavy, and it impacts the entire family. So that's really part part of why we do what we do is we really want to make sure that the churches we serve are healthy
Yeah.
and they can sustain. And so definitely. Then the other thing is accountability. It adds another layer of accountability. And I would say that's the feedback that we get from most of our churches. We serve mega churches and we serve church plants.
Yeah.
So everything in between. And that is something that they appreciate, is having that extra level of accountability.
Yeah. That's a really interesting point that you bring up because, there's obviously people hear the horror stories or where things kind of go wrong. But how do you all partner with churches to provide that? As far as obviously you're seeing some of those details, but is there kind of that two-way communication where you can help them then as well with best practices and things that can be done so that they're ensuring they're stewarding resources well and all?
Oh, absolutely. We provide them with resources for them, policies, procedures, kind of the best practices that we would recommend. And we meet with them as often as they need. And we train the staff as well and help them set up systems that work for them. Because every church is different and smaller churches don't have the capacity that larger churches do. So we have to kind of make it fit for that ministry.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do come alongside them.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to partner with them. We want to advance the gospel. We're in this together.
Yeah.
We are a ministry to help other ministries, and that's our focus. And we pray with people. We come alongside them. We're church planners too.
Yeah.
We're in the trenches with them. So it's like we're living this thing, and it's one beggar, showed another better where to find bread kind of thing. So.
And because we're a ministry, we never turn away a ministry for inability to pay for our services. We have churches that believe in what we do, and they give to us so that we can do that. And so,
that's amazing. Well, what would you say, this is going to be kind of a broad question, but what would you say is at the top of the list for things that take too much time for pastors and church leaders that they should look at handing off to someone else, whether it would be to you all, whether it be, basically getting it off their plate so that they have that time for ministry?
Definitely things like bylaws, and obviously we work with them because we want to make sure it fits for their church.
Sure.
But we also make sure that it meets the state requirements and things that they wouldn't necessarily think about. Those are the kind of things. And then financial things, bookkeeping. Pastors don't really want to. They really want that extra level of accountability. They want the hands off. Most, at least our experiences, that's what they want. And so taking that off their plate, they don't want to worry about it, so to speak. And then I would say another area would be with staffing and policies and procedures, that kind of thing. And so coming alongside, helping them design those that meets their needs as well. So, yeah.
Andy's worked with a lot of churches, and she has heard things from every different angle. And she can read tax law with a smile on her face.
That is a gift. That's a gift.
That would have been my answer to the first question, because I just love it. So
that's beautiful, right? Because you're equipped to do that, which then means you can come alongside, and there's almost a sense of backing up and seeing, just like a church is the body, there's different parts of the body, the broader kingdom, and to know, man, that's a gift. Because I don't know about you, Matt, but I would read tax code and just cry a little out of pain. Yes. I think, and confusion.
Yes, and I have.
And disappointment that I don't understand it.
And I have.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. That's very good. Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things, again, that we love to do is do our best to empower healthy churches. So we always like to ask people on the podcast, in your opinion, what is one essential component of a healthy church? So I love to hear both of you.
Okay. But I would say
you can't share your answer ahead of time.
Healthy leadership, healthy marriage. I think that's primary.
You said one.
Okay.
I think you may have taken it.
I'll go with healthy marriage. You got to invest in each other and have a regular date night, and so I'd love to make her feel special and important, and
Yeah.
more important than what I'm doing. I mean,
Yeah.
she is it. God has brought us together, and we're serving Jesus together.
That's sweet. Thank you.
It's awesome.
It's sweet. And I think I would lean towards the healthy leadership. As a pastor's wife, I have witnessed both aspects. I've witnessed it when it's not been healthy, and I've witnessed it when it's extremely healthy, which is where we are today. Having a network of guys, of other pastors who they can go to, and they all understand what each other's going through.
Yeah. Yep.
And having the ability to lean on them, to share with them, and to get wisdom from other pastors. I think that's so important, and I'm thankful that my husband has that. But I really believe that, and then really ministry is, the pastor's not the only one in the ministry, so I'm glad my husband shared that, because it really is the entire family,
Yeah.
and making sure the family's healthy too. So
Well said. They
Yeah.
complemented each other well, your answers. So I feel like, if husband and wife just coming through, working off each other. I love it. You guys are
thank
You guys
you.
are wonderful. All right, we're gonna jump into we call it a section called our final five. I warned you about the book question. It's
All
coming
right.
up in this
Yeah,
one.
that was all
Plenty
him.
of books to choose from.
Everyone could be yours, but we'll jump into these. You guys can decide who answers what one. First one, what is one book that you'd recommend to church leaders?
Renovated by Jim Wilder.
Okay.
Jim Wilder's spending a lot of time with Dallas Willard and just kind of talking about his renovation of the heart book.
Yeah.
So it's a book about a book.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing book. It's a book that would help you fall in love with Jesus.
That's awesome.
So it's not a how to do this and how to do that. It's Jesus. It's how to love Jesus, and here's why. And it's an amazing book. But on top of that,
Yeah, give us another one.
I would say as a church planter, something that grabbed my heart is the book Saturate and Gospel Fluency by Jeff Vanderstelt.
Yep.
They just grabbed me, and it was just, he put words to what I was feeling and my emotions. Is like, oh my gosh, this is what we need to do. As a discipleship pastor at the time, I was reading this book. I was like, this is it. This people grow in community. And I was just drawn to that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like it's only fitting if you have a double stacked bookshelf to give at least 2 recommendations. That's perfect. All right. Next question. What's the last thing you listened to? So wherever you listen to music, or maybe it was audiobook, podcast, last thing you listened to.
I listen to jazz music all the time. Just background instrumental.
Yeah.
Just love it. But do you have anything to add to that?
I honestly love the blues.
Right.
So Johnny Lang, even though he's not singing anymore,
Yeah.
is one of my favorites, and so he's a go-to for me.
Jazz and the blues. You
Yeah.
have wonderful musical tastes in your household. I can tell. That's awesome. All right. What is a favorite piece of technology or software? And the only rule on this one is you can't see your phone.
Hmm. Go ahead.
So it's all you on this one.
On this one?
Yeah.
I'd say my iPods. I love being able to be anywhere and be able to communicate with those that we serve without the external noises. And so it's been a blessing to me in what I do and being able to serve pastors.
Yeah.
And so I know that's a simple thing, but sometimes those simple things are very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
All right. What is a quote or piece of advice that has stuck with you over the years?
Do you want it?
you can go. Let's do that one.
I would say date night. It's just it's important for us to focus on each other and commit to that.
Yeah.
That we're always going to have a time every week that we're going to be together and focused on each other and hearing each other and giving each other the space that we need.
Yeah.
So that we don't shy away from that. We spend time for that, and we make date night weekends. We try to do that once a quarter just to get away and focus on each other. And
because both of us being in ministry,
It's busy.
it is. And I remember Tim Keller sharing that is because his wife was in ministry as well, sharing how that is just a little more difficult even than just being a pastor's wife, with both of us being in ministry, just to make sure that we do spend that time with each other and our family, because we have to love. If we're not loving them well, it's hard for us to love others well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well said. All right, last one. What's one thing that you would like to communicate to our audience of church leaders?
That you're not alone. That there are resources and people who, like our ministry, that would love to come alongside and help support in any way that we can.
Yeah.
Some of the other things that we offer benevolence to pastors. The reason we started doing that is because we know that by law, if a church gives benevolence to their own pastor, it has to go on their W-2 and he's taxed.
Yeah.
And so that really hit us heavy. We want to make sure that we are giving back to pastors and their families.
Yeah.
And then another thing that we do is we offer 7-night accommodations once a quarter to a pastor who's nominated by another pastor.
Wow.
And so so that they can get that time away. And so just like they're not alone.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Can you share just for people where they can learn more about Luke 9:23 Ministries, connect with you all, potentially, hear more of what you might be able to help them with?
Yeah, Luke923ministries.org.
Awesome.
Yeah, Google it, search it, you'll find us.
Yeah. Well, we'll make sure to put it in the show notes so it's easy for people, but just so appreciative of not only your time sharing with people, but also the ministry that you all are doing. It's amazing to come alongside, use your gifts, your passion, your heart to serve, but also then to know how that kind of trickles down, right? And all the churches that you've been able to serve into the people in the churches. And it's just really, really awesome to hear. Really appreciate it and appreciate your time on the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple to use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.